Okay, so today I want to go over useful and reliable resources. You will do several projects in here for every unit, and I want to make sure that you understand what I'm looking for and what do I expect. Since there's no textbook, you can use anything, but there are certain ones that will help you to be more efficient and keep from losing points. All right, so Encyclopedia, yeah, I know we don't use encyclopedias that often, but they sometimes have a real good purpose. I have 2 sets of World Book encyclopedias and 1 set of Lands and Peoples. The other 2 sets of Lands and Peoples are actually located in the library, but sometimes I bring those into my room. So those encyclopedias are really good for non-number facts, pictures, things that aren't really dated, because these are older, but they're a reference. And if the internet is down, you can at least get started. You can get some basic information. Now, the Lands and Peoples are specifically an encyclopedia about countries in the world. And so you can quickly find the elevation of countries, the highest point and the lowest point in feet, without going online. And then if you go online, you'll probably have to then convert it to feet because it'll be found in kilometers. So if you're going to use this resource, all you need to do is give me the title, the volume, and the page number. So World Book Encyclopedia, Volume M, page 712. Okay, and that's all I'm looking for. And these are in my room and also in the library. All right, Almanac. Now I know this is not a picture of the most recent one, but I didn't need to change it. The World Almanac and Book of Facts is actually about facts. There's things in here about sports. There's things in here about countries. There's things in here about who died in the last year, who, significant events, who was scientist that discovered something or was born or died, health statistics on how many people had cancer, how many people died with cancer. So it has tons. But you're going to be looking at the section about the countries. So it starts at about page 750, depending on the year. And all you have to do is give me the title, the year, and the page number. So say 2021 World Almanac, page 792. And then I'll know that that's the page that you found that particular fact on. Now, there's tons of information about each country, and you can quickly find 20 facts without Googling. What is the population of Canada? Click. And then you got to sort through it to make sure that it's up to date, because I only accept number data from 2020 and 2021. Anything older than that, I do not accept. So you need to have something that's really relevant and up to date. So in the Almanac, there's a paragraph about people that has population, population density, the languages, like the official languages or language of a country, and then the major religions. And that's based on a percentage. So you know what those mean. Maybe you don't know what population density means, but remember that is people per square mile. There's a geography paragraph. The only thing in there that you might ever use will be total area in square miles. Never use land area. I always want total area, and maybe the capital. The economy paragraph talks about the major industries, the major agricultural products, and the major natural resources found in this country. You will probably use those frequently, depending on the style and the topic of your project. Finance, you'll need monetary unit and its conversion rate. Monetary unit is a fancy way of saying money or currency. So the name of it and how much of their money equals $1 US. And I always want it in that style of conversion. I don't want one of their money equals how much in US money, because that's hard to fathom. We understand if I have $1 and I have 150 whatever monies in another country, pesos or dinars or whatever it is, we can go, wow, only one of ours to 150 of theirs. It tells you a lot about their economy and the strength of their currency in the world market. The health paragraph, always doing life expectancy. Males are always listed first, females are always listed second, so always list them in that order. Of course, that's the average age of a male, how long they live, and an average age of a female. Males always die before females. There's very few countries in the world where that's switched or that they're the same. Education, the only thing you'll need to know is literacy rate, and that's based on a percentage. Of course, that's the amount of people that can read and write in their official language. So sometimes you'll see a really low number, but it's because they don't speak the official language. They speak another language, and that's what they're testing on. There's a history paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs at the very end. It'll give significant historical dates, like the date of independence and who they gained that from. Maybe if there was a war, maybe a volatile presidential election or something along those lines. It'll list some major historical events, nothing in great detail, but that's not what you're using this book for. And then there are maps and flags in this book. If you go to the middle, you'll see there are some colored pages, and there are maps and small examples of flags. Maybe not great to use, but at least it's a reference in the same book. All right, Goods World Atlas. We talked about atlases when we talked about one of the map projections. Usually you're probably going to use the Goods World Atlas, and that's going to be for climate type. And in the 3 versions of Goods World Atlas that I have, it's always in the first few pages on pages 8 and 9. So you'd say Goods World Atlas, page 8 and 9, for telling me that the climate type is humid continental, not the description. It's hot and humid. Okay, that's a description. Culturograms, I have a classroom set in my room. Those are older, but again, if the internet is down, if you're using the culturogram for culture, not numbers, it's fine. What do they typically eat? What's their typical food? What's family like? What are marriages like? What do they do for recreation and entertainment? What kind of holidays do they have? Those are things that don't really change, and so you can definitely use the culturogram. Now, the beauty is, I'll show you where this is a little bit later, but we have the online version that we pay for, and I'll show you where to find that and the password. Again, if you're using this and you use the paper version, just say Culturogram 2008, and I'll know if your project is about India, you're not using Japan's culturogram, so that's kind of a duh. You don't need to tell me that it's for Indonesia or Japan. I'll know. Magazines and newspapers, depending on your project, if you want to do something related to current events, obviously current events. That means within the last couple of weeks. Usually I use 2 weeks as a guide. You need to give me the title of the article, the source, the date, and the page number if it's actually in paper print. If it's online, obviously you don't need a page number. So you just need the title of the article, the date of the article, and then the exact URL. And we'll talk about good sources here in a little bit. I do have magazines that you can use in newspapers. I don't have them as often because I don't really teach a current events course right now, but when I do, I get those. But online, you can use those resources. Now again, please stay in the middle, kind of mainstream. It can be slightly liberal, it can be slightly conservative, but they still need to be reputable. Sometimes if you get too far on the outsides, I've deleted the outsides, you're getting too skewed of news, so just kind of stick in the mainstream. Okay, I'm fine with ABC, NBC, CBS, BBC, Reuters, CNN, Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal. Fox is okay, CNN is okay, USA Today is okay. Again, those, they aren't really, stick maybe more in the center and you're golden. Okay? Online resources. Again, since you're using a lot of resources on your Chromebook, is it reliable and is it current? If no is the answer to either one of those, you shouldn't use that resource. When you did the very first project in here, I made a comment that when you put in your sources, some of you, your URLs said Google / something, something, something. Google is not a source. It is a search engine. Google does not post any information. They borrow the information from Reuters. They borrow the information from, a .com website. So it is not theirs. Never use Google as a source. Click on the picture, for example. Go to that exact picture. That's the URL I'm looking for. Or open up the link, and that's the URL I'm looking for. Okay? So you need to list the exact URL unless you use my Padlet. And my Padlet is, again, really up-to-date, reliable information based on current news sources, current resources that I know are trustworthy and reliable. So if you go to the home page, okay, go to Canvas, go to, World Geography for this particular class, or World Studies, or any other class, okay, and I have all these sources that we're talking about right now in links. You go to this Padlet, and I've got resources that you can click on right here. So what that's saying is, if I go to this particular site, so for example, say I'm going to be using, encyclopedia.com. Okay, all you have to do is tell me encyclopedia.com and your search term. I typed in Japanese foods, and then you found that, okay? So any of these I think are good, reliable, up-to-date, respectable. Again, we'll talk about the Iowa AEA online in a little bit. All right, so that is kind of how that goes. Again, online resources, we just talked about Padlet. Iowa AEA online, there's a Britannica and Culturegrams, which you'll probably use the most. Here's the password and the login code. That's on the Canvas homepage, so if you're at home and you've forgotten this, it's there. You can do Des Moines Register online. That's the password there as well. And remember, just stick to the middle of resources when it's online. Don't use extreme. Make sure it's not Bob Smith's webpage or Mrs. Qualley's webpage. Make sure it is a professional's webpage. Whoever is in charge of that particular topic and information.